Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jay and this is a web of classic tales. If you're enjoying the videos, please like, subscribe, share, comment. If you want notifications every single time a new video is uploaded, please click the little bell icon. Today we'll continue reading E.F. Benson's The House with the Brick-Kiln. A fortnight of our 3 weeks passed without incident, except that again and again the curious feeling of something dreadful being close at hand was present in my mind. In a way, as I said, I got used to it. But on the other hand, the feeling itself seemed to gain poignancy. Once, just at the end of the fortnight, I mentioned it to Jack. "Odd you should speak of it," he said, "because I felt the same. When do you feel it? Do you feel it now, for instance?" We were again sitting out after dinner, and as he spoke, I felt it with far greater intensity than ever before, and at the same moment the house door, which had been closed, though probably not latched, swung gently open, letting out a shaft of light from the hall, and as gently swung to again, as if something had stealthily entered. "Yes," I said, "I felt it then. I only feel it in the evening. It was rather bad that time." Jack was silent a moment. "Funny thing, the door opening and shutting like that," he said. "Let's go indoors." We got up, and I remember seeing at that moment that the windows of my bedroom were lit. Mrs. Franklin probably was making things ready for the night. Simultaneously, as we crossed the gravel, there came from just inside the house the sound of a hurried footstep on the stairs, and entering we found Mrs. Franklin in the hall, looking rather white and startled. "Anything wrong?" I asked. She took 2 or 3 quick breaths before she answered. "No, sir," she said. "At least nothing that I can give an account of. I was tidying up in your room, and I thought you came in, but there was nobody, and it gave me a turn. I left my candle there. I must go up for it." I waited in the hall a moment, while she again ascended the stairs and passed along the gallery to my room. At the door, which I could see was open, she paused, not entering. "What is the matter?" I asked from below. "I left the candle alight," she said, "and it's gone out." Jack laughed. "You left the door and window open," he said. "Yes, sir, but not a breath of wind is stirring," said Mrs. Franklin rather faintly. This was true, and yet a few moments ago the heavy hall door had swung open and back again. Jack ran upstairs. "We'll brave the dark together, Mrs. Franklin," he said. He went into my room, and I heard the sound of a match struck. Then through the open door came the light of the rekindled candle, and simultaneously I heard a bell ring in the servants' quarters. In a moment came steps, and Franklin appeared. "What bell was that?" I asked. "Mr. Jack's bedroom, sir," he said. I felt there was a marked atmosphere of nerves about, for which there was really no adequate cause. All that had happened of a disturbing nature was that Mrs. Franklin had thought I had come into my bedroom, and had been startled by finding I had not. She had then left the candle in a draught, and it had blown out. As for a bell ringing, that, even if it had happened, was a very innocuous proceeding. "Mouse on a wire," I said. "Mr. Jack is in my room this moment lighting Mrs. Franklin's candle for her." Jack came down at this juncture, and went into the sitting room. But Franklin apparently was not satisfied, for we heard him in the room above us, which was Jack's bedroom, moving about with his slow and rather ponderous tread. Then his steps seemed to pass into the bedroom adjoining, and we heard no more. I remember feeling hugely sleepy that night, and went to bed earlier than usual, to pass rather a broken night with stretches of dreamless sleep, interspersed with startled awakenings, in which I passed very suddenly into complete consciousness. Sometimes the house was absolutely still, and the only sound to be heard was the sighing of the night breeze outside in the pines. But sometimes the place seemed full of muffled movements, and once I could have sworn that the handle of my door turned. That required verification, and I lit my candle, but found that my ears must have played me false. Yet, even as I stood there, I thought I heard steps just outside, and with a considerable qualm, I must confess, I opened the door and looked out. But the gallery was quite empty, and the house quite still. Then from Jack's room opposite, I heard a sound that was somehow comforting, the snorts of the snorer, and I went back to bed and slept again. And when I next woke, morning was already breaking in red lines on the horizon, and the sense of trouble that had been with me ever since last evening had gone. Heavy rain set in after lunch next day, and as I had arrears of letter writing to do, and the water was soon both muddy and rising, I came home alone about 5, leaving Jack still sanguine by the stream, and worked for a couple of hours sitting at a writing table in the room overlooking the gravel at the front of the house, where hung the watercolours. By 7 I had finished, and just as I got up to light candles, since it was already dusk, I saw, as I thought, Jack's figure emerge from the bushes that bordered the path to the stream, onto the space in front of the house. Then, instantaneously, and with a sudden queer sinking of the heart, quite unaccountable, I saw that it was not Jack at all, but a stranger. He was only some 6 yards from the window, and after pausing there a moment, he came close up to the window, so that his face nearly touched the glass, looking intently at me. In the light from the freshly kindled candles, I could distinguish his features with great clearness. But though, as far as I knew, I had never seen him before, there was something familiar about both his face and figure. He appeared to smile at me, but the smile was one of inscrutable evil and malevolence. And immediately he walked on, straight toward the house door opposite him, and out of sight of the sitting-room window. Now, little though I liked the look of the man, he was, as I have said, familiar to my eye, and I went out into the hall, since he was clearly coming to the front door, to open it to him and learn his business. So, without waiting for him to ring, I opened it, feeling sure I should find him on the step. Instead, I looked out into the empty gravel sweep, the heavy falling rain, the thick dust, and even as I looked, I felt something that I could not see push by me through the half-opened door and pass into the house. Then the stairs creaked, and a moment after, a bell rang. Franklin is the quickest man to answer a bell I have ever seen, and next instant he passed me going upstairs. He tapped at Jack's door, entered, then came down again. "Mr. Jack still out, sir?" he asked. "Yes, his bell ringing again?" "Yes, sir," said Franklin, quite imperturbably. I went back into the sitting-room, and soon Franklin brought a lamp. He put it on the table above which hung the careful and curious picture of the Brick-Kiln, and then, with a sudden horror, I saw why the stranger on the gravel outside had been so familiar to me. In all respects, he resembled the figure that peered into the kiln. It was more than a resemblance, it was an identity. And what had happened to this man who inscrutably and evilly smiled at me? And what had pushed in through the half-closed door? At that moment I saw the face of fear. My mouth went dry. I heard my heart leaping and cracking in my throat. The face was only turned on me for a moment, and then away again. But I knew it to be the genuine thing. Not apprehension, not foreboding, not a feeling of being startled, but fear. Cold fear. And then, though nothing had occurred to assuage the fear, it passed, and a certain sort of reason usurped, for so I must say, its place. I had certainly seen somebody on the gravel outside the house. I had supposed he was going to the front door. I had opened it, and found he had not come to the front door. Or, and once again the terror resurged, had the invisible pushing thing been that which I had seen outside? And if so, what was it? And how came it that the face and figure of the man I had seen was the same as that which was so scrupulously painted in the picture of the Brick-Kiln? I set myself to argue down the fear for which there was no more foundation than this and the repetition of the ringing bell, and my belief is that I did so. I told myself till I believed it, that a man, a human man, had been walking across the gravel outside, and that he had not come to the front door but had gone, as he might easily have done, up the drive into the high road. I told myself that it was mere fancy that was the cause of the belief that something had pushed in by me, and as for the ring of the bell, I said to myself, as was true, that this had happened before, and I must ask the reader to believe also that I argued these things away, and looked no further on the face of fear itself. I was not comfortable, but I fell short of being terrified. I sat down again by the window, looking on to the gravel in the front of the house, and finding another letter that asked, though it did not demand, an answer, proceeded to occupy myself with it. Straight in front led the drive through the gap in the pines, and passed through the field where lay the brick-kiln. In a pause of page-turning, I looked up and saw something unusual about it. At the same moment, an unusual smell came to my nostril. What I saw was smoke coming out of the chimney of the kiln. What I smelt was the odour of roasting meat. The wind, such as there was, set from the kiln to the house. But as far as I knew, the smell of roast meat probably came from the kitchen where dinner, so I supposed, was cooking. I had to tell myself this. I wanted reassurance, lest the face of fear should look whitely on me again. Thank you for listening. This has been The House with the Brick-Kiln by E.F. Benson, Part 2. I've been Jay. This has been a Web of Classic Tales. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, click the bell icon for notifications. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Have a nice life, and I'll see you next time.